Shalom. Shalom once again. Um, there was a subject that came up that I thought I should speak on. There was a young man on YouTube basically saying that um, he doesn't keep the Sabbath, and he was giving his explanations why he doesn't keep the Sabbath. Um, you have a choice. You can keep the Sabbath or don't keep the Sabbath. Um, if you're commanded to do so, then you're actually the people and you're following what the Most High is saying if you're commanded to do so. This is a conviction issue and it's a salvation issue. But one of the problems is that we have this theology where certain people think they have a better understanding of the word of the Most High than him himself. Um, One thing is the misunderstanding of the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a little more than what they think it is. They have this understanding that it's just a day and it's just a day of rest. No. The Sabbath is much more than that. Everything that the Most High does, he demonstrates these things so we can understand his name. Huh? Yeah, right. Everybody's like, what? Name? No. We need to understand his name. You want to call his name. You want to live by his name. You need to understand his name. And when the Most High gives his name, he gives it in the manifestations of his glory, his reputation, his fame. His name is Shem. Shem, his reputation, his glory, and his fame. These things that he do, we need to recognize them and remember them. That's why when he went through all the creation, he was explaining how he created things and they were good. When he finished all his work after he created man to praise everything that he's done and to remember and recognize what it is that he's done, he said, I'm finished with this work. This is what he meant by he rested. He didn't have to go to sleep or nothing like that. He rested. He was finished with his work. It was completed. Okay. So when he gave the Sabbath and he said for it to be holy, what he meant is, and what he's saying is, recognize and remember what I did on this day. This is the only way to make that day holy, is to recognize and remember what it is that he did for creation, in creation that day. Now, a lot of people will say, well, we can't do the Sabbath. We have to work and we have to do all these things. Well, those are excuses. That's all they are. If you can do the Sabbath, you do the Sabbath. If you can't do the Sabbath, you should be crying out in your heart to do the Sabbath. Either way it goes, even if you can't do it, you should be crying out in your heart to do the Sabbath. And somebody will say, well, why do you say that? Well, we have laws that we have to go by. Deuteronomy 22. Give me 1 second. Let me look through here real quick. I think it's Deuteronomy 22 and 25, I think. No, I'm sorry. Deuteronomy 22 and 23 through 27. It speaks about a young lady, or I'll just read it. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man finds her in the city and lies with her, finds her in the city and lies with her, then shall bring them both unto the gate of the city, and ye shall stone them with stones until they're dead. The damsel, because she cried not, because in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you. So it's saying right here in Deuteronomy 22 and 23 through 24, that this young lady was in the city and a man came and laid with her and she didn't cry out. There's two things going on here. She's in the city, so if she cried, somebody would hear her, but she didn't cry. So she was basically doing this thing consensual, okay? she was okay with this. This is the type of person that says, oh, well, we don't have to do the Sabbath because, we're in this situation where I have to go to work and all this, but you're not crying out in your heart. So let's read on. Okay. Now, verse 25 shows a different type of damsel. But if a man finds a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man forces her and lies with her, and then the man only lays with her shall die. Okay. But the damsel, thou shalt not do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man rises against his neighbor and slays him, even so is this matter. Okay. All right. This is real important that you understand this. The damsel was in the field, nobody around. If she cried out, nobody would hear her. But she cried out. She didn't just lay there and let this thing happen to her. She cried out. The difference between the damsel in the field is she didn't consent to this. The damsel in the city did. Both betrothed. So the damsel in the city would be those individuals that feel like, oh, well, we don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. I'm going to eat my pork. I'm going to do all these things. Okay. That's the damsel in the city. She's consenting to this world, this ways of this world, where the damsel in the field wants to obey all these commandments, wants to do all these things, but she's not allowed to do these things because she's under the rule of this abominable person. We'll just put it that way. You can use slavery as a example, but we're not going to get into that. Just want to show a point to where a lot of people feel like, oh, well, because I'm in this situation, because in this situation. No, these are conditions of the heart. You're either showing you're defiant or you want to conform to what it is that the Most High wants you to do. People say, oh, well, there's no need to take the Sabbath anymore, this, that, and the other thing. Well, you can look in scriptures if you want. Yeshua kept the Sabbath. Paul kept the Sabbath. Disciples kept the Sabbath. So if they can keep the Sabbath, follow all these commandments, and all of a sudden you say, oh, no, we're no longer under the commandments. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. There's an issue there. I mean, I can do a Bible study on this, and I can demonstrate that everything that Yeshua did, everything from the moment he showed up to John the Baptist, everything he did from that point on was following the law. Redemption for his people was following the law. Being beat was following the law. Being ridiculed was following the law. Being led to the tree was following the law. Was going into the grave was following the law. Coming out of the grave was following the law. So if he did all these things following the law, what makes you think you don't have to? He said, if he was persecuted, wouldn't you be persecuted? See, you're not thinking because you're too busy listening to somebody else tell you something. I had a class on a couple of weeks ago. Precept must be upon precept. The reason for this is because the Most High said, listen to my word. Don't listen to man. Listen to my word, what my word said. So this situation where a person feels, oh, well, we don't have to keep the Sabbath and everything. Well, that's fine. You don't have to. You don't. If you don't feel that you're a part of this covenant, if you're not a part of this covenant, and I know everybody's like, well, yeah, well, Jeremiah 31 through 34, and then Hebrews 8 and 8 through 10, they don't get it. They still don't get it. They don't understand it. Solomon understood it well. He said, there's nothing new under the sun. And the Father even gave us his own example. I change not. If there's a new covenant, that means the Father is not perfect. He needs to fix what it is that he did. You don't need to fix anything for you. He's creation. He's the creator. You're the creation. You don't need to fix anything. So with that understanding, you should automatically come to the understanding that Jeremiah 31 through 34, Hebrews 8 through 10 is speaking about a renewed covenant. A renewed covenant. In other words, mercy. It is not talking about changing the covenant or changing anything in it. He's bringing this renewed covenant because of the fathers broke this covenant. Okay. They brought lame animals to him. They defiled his feast days. They did all these things. We're allowed to do these things over because the condition of the heart that they had was terrible. We need to present ourselves with a whole different type of heart and understand that we have no righteousness whatsoever. Our righteousness is in Yeshua HaMashiach. Therefore, he stands for us and we stand for him. This is called a covenant. A lot of people's not going to understand this because they think a little bit too much of themselves. If you go ahead and look at Isaiah 64 and 6, where Isaiah is explaining to us, all our righteousness is as a filthy rag. All we can do is cry out, put our faith in the Messiah. That's all we can do. We need to continue to do that and not listen to these people that's telling us, oh, no, we don't need to do this anymore. We don't need to do that anymore. I want to read a verse to you. I'm not going to make this long. I just want to bring this up because this guy really irked me. He was trying to justify all these things. And you know, when you understand scripture and you read scripture and someone comes up with these crazy ideas like, oh, yeah, we don't have to do this no more. Then they go misread the scripture and then use no precepts whatsoever and then tell you, you don't need to do this anymore. Well, it's kind of strange how they don't need to follow the commandments no more. They're not a part of this covenant. We're waiting for a new covenant. But the one law that they can follow is tithing. They can follow tithing because tithing allows them to line their pockets, put some money in their pockets. But tithe has nothing to do with money. It's nowhere in the Bible about money. It's about food. It was a welfare system. Those who lost their fathers, their brothers, those people that could take care of their mothers and their wives, their children. This was a welfare system, and it was about food. Had nothing to do with money whatsoever. But anyway, going off track there. Yeshua, like I said, he kept the commandments, and the disciples kept the commandments. Yeshua said in John 14 and 15, he said, if you love me, keep my commandments. Now, he said a whole bunch of other stuff after that, but it was still based on, if you love me, keep my commandments. Because if you love him, he's going to show that he loves you. He's going to show the Father that he loves you. He's going to do things to make your world just a little bit easier because you'll have a proper understanding that this world is not ours. If you look around, if you really believe in the scripture and you understand scripture, and you look around and you see all the things that are going on right now, you have to recognize that the scriptures is telling you the truth. This world is not ours. It's not ours. We're waiting for the next world. Okay, let's go to, let's see. All right, we'll go to, I'm gonna read 2nd Ezra 6, 55 through 59. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. For as for the people, as for the people also come from Adam, thou hast said, they are nothing but unto spittle, nothing, all right? And has likened to the abundance of the drop in the falling from a vessel. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathens which have ever been reputed as nothing have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. But we, the people whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thou only begotten, and thy fervent lover are given into their hands. This is Ezra speaking about how we were in a high position, and the Most High is telling us that we are his people and we belong in that high position, but we fell from that position. And Ezra is explaining his distress from all these things that are happening. He's saying these people are nothing. They're dogs, but all of a sudden we're below the dogs, and he's crying out about that. Okay, verse 59. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with this world? How long shall this endure? Ezra is saying this. He's crying out. But if we go up to verse 7 and 9 in the same chapter. It says, bear with me. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder from the times? He's asking, when is this going to be over with? When is this going to be over with? Okay. And the beginning of that follows. So Ezra understands that this is not our world. He knows our world's going to come after that. And so, and he said unto me, the Most High said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. So Jacob was holding on to the heel of Esau during the birth. And Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that follows. So Ezra is explaining, how he feels, we've been let down. We're in this situation and he wants out of it. He's crying out. He's doing the same thing that we just explained in Deuteronomy 22. He's crying out. Most High is explaining to him, you're going to have to keep crying out because there's a judgment. There's a judgment going on. And with this judgment, we need to learn how to bear that judgment because we know that something's coming that's going to change it. We're going to be redeemed. Something is coming that will redeem us. But we have to follow his instructions in order to be redeemed. So if we're not following his instructions and we say, oh, well, we don't need to do the Sabbath. Well, when we say we're not going to do the Sabbath, we're saying, I don't recognize you. I don't recognize your creation. I don't remember anything. So therefore, I don't know your name. So guess what? You don't need to follow the Sabbath. You'll feel that your path has already been set. There's no reason for you to follow the Sabbath. But those who cry out to him, those who need him, you're going to follow the Sabbath because you understand what the Sabbath's about. It's about his name. It's about his reputation, his fame, and his glory. This is so important. It really is. Recognize and remember all 6 of those days, what he did in creation. Understand what he says, rest on the 7th day. The Father must get glory in everything he's done. And if you're a part of something that he's done, you'll give him glory. If you're not a part of something that he's done, you won't give him glory. So those of you that say you don't need to follow the Sabbath, don't follow it. Don't follow it. But those who know they should follow the Sabbath and recognize the Father and remember what he's done and remember his name, which is his fame, his glory, and his reputation. This is what the Sabbath is about for us. And this makes it a holy day. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And once again, shalom.